Decoupling as a prerequisite for sustainable development. Material resource extraction and modification to create economic value are still seen as reliable companions of economic prosperity. In some developed countries, the resource consumption ratio to the economic growth, GDP, has stabilized or even shown a modest decline. However, the resource consumption rate is still on the rise, or the resource intensity is exported somewhere else. In developing countries, even though the level of resource used by each person is still well below that in the developed nations, the ratio of GDP to resource extraction is now higher. Energy, materials, water, and land are natural assets extracted deliberately, and their quantity or quality deteriorate to grow the economy. Increase in demand, as a result of the world's population growth, will lead to extra pressure on natural resources, which are already under stress, both in terms of quantity and quality. Considering the limitation of natural resources and the interrelationship between ecosystems, some experts suggest that the only possible scenario to meet the needs of the world's growing population, eradicate poverty and pursue economic development without threatening future life on Earth, would be to substantially reduce the dependency on natural resources associated with economic activities. This scenario is referred to as decoupling. In this sense, decoupling means using less resource per unit of economic output and reducing the environmental impact of any resources that are used or economic activities that are undertaken. The decoupling idea would support the green economy, in which human welfare is enhanced while sustaining environmental resources. Decoupling can be applied by all governments, private, and civil society sectors and toward different resources, such as water, land, soil, and metals. It can increase resource productivity to reduce the rate of use of primary resource per unit of economic activity, or it can increase eco-efficiency in increasing economic output to mitigate negative environmental impacts. Relative and absolute decoupling. Although relative decoupling, reduction in per unit resource impact, is easier to achieve and fairly common, absolute decoupling, reduction in the total amount of resource used, is clearly more effective in conserving natural resources. Absolute reductions in resource use are rare. They can occur only when the growth rate of resource productivity exceeds the growth rate of the economy.